my take is, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had my ups and downs through life, but on the same token,
Does the crime, if you get caught for a crime,
crime doesn't pay.
okay, crime don't pay. What I'm saying is,
I mean, it pays, but for how long?
You go steal a car and you get busted and they give you a year, they don't pay. You go get away with, let's say, $500,000 and you do 6 months, and does that pay?
Well, when you're going to get away with $500,000 and only get away with, and only have 6 months?
I'm just telling you stuff.
No, I mean, if you end up getting caught by something that like you've been running shit for a long time and you get stopped for DUI or some shit and you get 6 months jail time because it's your second DUI type shit, and that's all they could get you on. Well, then and maybe, but at some point in time you got to get out, bro, because at some point in time, you're number one. You got a target on your back. That's number one. Number two.
But don't you always have a target?
No, you don't always have a target. No, I don't have no target on my back.
You're a black man in America.
That's a different target. But I ain't got
what's so different?
What I'm saying
is, what's the difference?
There's a huge difference, bro. So just because I'm black, I should go ahead and do all the shit? No.
No, that has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying, you said there was if you don't have a target.
If I'm in the underworld, let's call it the underworld. So if I'm in the underworld, then one thing I'm looking at is this. I got a target, especially if I'm number one in the underworld. I got a target on my back.
True.
Even if I go to jail, if I do my 6 months time, boom, 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 I get back out. The 6 months that I'm in jail, I could probably run some certain shit, but a lot of motherfuckers that are hungry are gonna come back and say, yeah, that nigga locked down. So I'm gonna go ahead and take over his spot. Boom, boom, boom. Now, yeah, you got people that's under you, but how many other motherfuckers is gonna actually be loyal to your ass?
I feel like you're speaking. Okay.
Number one, I am speaking in hypotheticals because
you are speaking hypotheticals.
I am speaking in hypotheticals,
but you are not. Okay, I'm speaking from an experience of a lifetime, right? And I will tell you that there's dudes out there, there's people out there that is extremely loyal to what you are and who you are. Does that make sense?
Some.
So what I'm saying is that the people that I grew up with and I roll with, now I don't know if it's an Asian thing, I don't know if it's a racial thing, I have no idea. But I will tell you, I have been through both sides of that fence. One side where somebody I trusted flipped, and one side where I trusted somebody and they didn't flip, right? And so I have that kind of, and I've seen it now, that's years and years and years ago, right? But the generalities of what we're talking about is stuff that we learn.
Yeah, we're speaking in generals.
Through watching whatever that we watch. And we are dictated by how those experiences teach you. Because stuff like what you watch on TV or experience or what people tell you stories of, that's embedded in you somewhere, right? And what I'm telling you is true life experience is never a singular straight line. Would you agree on that? And so there's certain things that happen. And I'm telling you, for me, basic people that get to break bread with you and live a harsh or a good life with you, I will tell you that I have a crazy belief that most people will not turn you in or turn you away.
I'm going to say this, and this is not having to do with anything that is anything on that criminal type level or whatever the case may be, hustling, whatever you want to call it.
Let's talk about jobs. Just a regular job.
That's what I'm saying. There are people that will roll on you in a heartbeat.
In a job.
In life, period. Boom. Hey, yeah, no, I'm doing stuff.
But were there people that don't?
Of course, obviously there are.
But that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that there's always disloyal people, and as long as there's disloyal people,
also loyal people.
Sure, there's loyal people, but in most cases, there's more disloyal people. I would venture to say. I would argue to say that there are probably more disloyal people than loyal people. There are more people that are jealous of your success, and just like crabs in a barrel, they're looking to bring you down.
That's okay.
And they're low
I
level.
agree with you.
They're low level, ain't got nothing, and you just happen to be they just happen to be in the right place at the wrong fucking time. And then they know enough about they just know that just that
Okay,
little
but
to bring you down.
I get this. I understand, right? And I'll tell you as an example, or I'll tell the story about you as an example. In my most indecisive moment, there's been a few of it. There's one in particular that you were at the bottom of everything in your life, financially, emotionally.
Why are you going to put on my shit like that?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just talking about you, financially, emotionally, and you decided to bring me up when you had nothing.
But bringing you up and bringing me up too.
Sure,
that's the way we roll.
But that is the way we roll. So when I look at my situation, in a lot of sense, is where did that come from, right?
I understand that there's loyal people. And you know what?
I mean, there's certain people in our circle.
What I'm saying
do that for
again,
us.
what I'm saying is this, and there's one particular. I'll say it like this: what does, without using names, one of our managers that are working with us now feel about one of the managers that was working with us at Toyota that he don't cut for, and fuck that motherfucker. You ain't gotta say no names. Disloyal. It only takes one.
Yeah,
it only takes one.
How close were they?
It only takes one disloyal motherfucker to fuck your whole shit up.
Sure, but don't you take that chance?
Sure, you always say, but
don't you take that chance? Don't you take that chance?
Here's the thing.
But do you go through life saying that this guy's this guy's that?
But you take calculated response. You take calculated chances.
I get that, but how do you take calculated? But you don't know the person. How the hell do you take a calculated
chance? First of all,
I'm
gonna say it like this. Most of the time, if I'm gonna do dirt, I'm gonna do dirt by myself. Because number one.
Oh, you wouldn't take me?
No, and I'm gonna tell you why I wouldn't take you. All right, but I'm gonna say before I get to that, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna do dirt by myself. Number one, can't nobody say nothing what I did because I did it by myself. Number two, I ain't dragging nobody else down in my dirt.
I knew you were going to say that. But what if you needed people? If you needed people and you say, you know what? At the end of the day, I need you or my homie, whatever that is, are you willing to roll?
They've been through the test.
Are you willing to roll?
I'm gonna tell you like this.
But if you're asking, do you not believe?
I had somebody that I thought I took through the test. I had somebody that
I
took to the test.
What I'm saying is, do you believe? When you're asking, do you believe?
I believed at the time, and then after that, I got caught up.
We're not saying after. I'm saying at that moment in time when you said, look, I got to do something.
I believed it.
I need two homies. I need two people.
Sure,
whatever it is.
Sure, I believed it because we've been through the dirt. But
the aftermath is the aftermath.
We went through the dirt, but they left me in the mud.
But the aftermath is the aftermath. I'm saying at that moment.
What I'm saying is, at this point in my life, retrospect, call it hindsight, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, we older. It's a whole different scenario.
What I'm saying is knowing what I know now. You asked if I could go back in time and do such and such, then that was the original thing. Go back. I would do. You know what? I'm gonna do my dirt by myself. That way, if anything goes down, I ain't got nobody to blame but myself. Because I can only tell on myself. If I'm the only person that's involved, the only person that can tell on me is me. That's number one. Number two, I ain't got to drag nobody in nothing.
I just feel like a lot of people watch or see things and they get influenced by it, but they never really live that lifestyle.
Agreed.
And that's all I'm telling you is that I've been on the other side where people accepted that was the cause. This is what happens when you did it. And I've been on the other side where people didn't accept the cause and like, no, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do and get out. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong on either side of the fence. What I'm telling you is that I still have a belief in people because of my time when I was young.
I will say this, that your philosophy got you through, and I think you were extremely lucky.
I agree with you. I was lucky.
I think you were extremely lucky in the fact that you didn't get caught up in some shit. You didn't get caught up in some shit that you didn't have to. 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 You d that it got to a point that I would have never met your ass, right? On the same token, there's been countless motherfuckers relied on somebody's word and relied on somebody's loyalty, and it turned out to be a lie. When they got a song out, they had a song out a few years ago. These hoes ain't loyal. Some of these niggas ain't loyal neither.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this: when you in the midst of doing the things you do, and you accept that those people are
These
with
are the consequences. These are the consequences that may come.
you make those decisions based on what you know at that moment.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of time people don't make those decisions in those moments, be it good, bad, or indifferent, because it still goes back to who is making that decision. Does that make sense? If you're making the decision to do whatever, and you know that out of 5 people, 2 of them are bad apples and 3 of them are good apples, and the average works out, and if you get away with it, great. If you don't, that's where the argument lies, right?
Well,
what I'm saying is, let's go back to the decision. The decision is go forward and make that. Do what you need to do.
What I'm talking about is mitigating risk from the very beginning.
Nobody fucking thinks that 20, 30 years ago, Mike.
I agree. And I'm talking about what I know now to apply back then.
That's right.
So what I know now to apply to what I did back then or who I was back then, then my ultimate goal is to mitigate risk.
But if you were back then, take yourself 20, 30 years ago, what are the decisions then?
The decisions that I made were very poor.
Yes. But what was the decision to do what you had to do?
Sure. But the decisions were poor. Had I known then what I know now, and that because that was the original thing.
That's right.
Had I known then what I know now, I would have mitigated risk. I would have changed partners. I would have done something different. Boom, stop when you're ahead. Boom, boom, boom.
But it also goes back to what you did makes you who you are today. Correct?
Sure. But
so how do you
however,
everything looks good through hindsight. But what I'm telling you,
hindsight 2020.
What I'm telling you is that when I was in the midst of whatever that it was, I wouldn't change a lot of things I did, including the people that I was with.
I wouldn't have changed a lot of the things that I did. I wouldn't have changed. I mean, I'll tell you, I wouldn't have changed, even though it's costly, I wouldn't have changed not having my children. Wouldn't have.
Well,
wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have, because.
Is it on TV? That's why you said that?
No. Just, I mean, it wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. I love my children, from Leah all the way to Jay and everything in between.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Leah to Jay and everybody in between. I wouldn't change it because they mean so much to me, right? Well, on the same token, but there are things that if I could.
What about happenstance in life? I will tell you a story. Years ago, I met this dude. I had to call him about the blue. Didn't know who the hell he was, right? And he damn near just died and came back to life. And I called, no. And I called him up, and he had no idea who I was. And, for that instant, lightning hit, and we became brothers. He's a part of my family, so on and so forth. But those things happen in life, and you have to cherish those things without the fear of what? Like, oh, this guy is not this guy is not that, this guy is not that.
Well, okay, so I'm going to say this, okay? Do I regret anything that I've done in life? No.
That's the key question, right?
But
it sounds like you do.
Do I regret anything that I've done in life? And I go back to
truthfully,
I stand on the fact that if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Good and bad, the ugly and the pretty, everything else, I wouldn't be the person I am today. There are some lessons that we don't have to necessarily take that path to learn those same lessons.
Yeah, but that's also hindsight. You have to go through those lessons to understand.
I understand hindsight. On the same token, there are decisions that could have been made better, and I could have still been led to the same path.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, but I completely agree. But what I'm telling you is,
there's some things that in life I could have. You know what? Ooh, that's probably a bad decision. Even though I did them, maybe I shouldn't do it, and I would still be on the same path.
I would tell you that I made some horrible decisions in life. Horrible.
Maybe I shouldn't fuck with this motherfucker over here. This is.
I've made some
She a
horrible
dirty
decisions.
hoe, but you know what? I'm gonna hit it anyway. And you know what? God, I'm still on the same path. But what I did is I did like
went
this.
with dirty
I did
hoe.
like this. I said whoop whoop.
You went with
I
dirty
did
hoe.
whoop 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 and came back around.
I happened to
got
be
back on the
there
same-
when I
Thank
warned
God,
you.
thank God. But
You didn't
boom,
listen.
boom, and I knew better, but I did it anyway. You know. what I
Yes,
mean?
but
So-
I was there for those instances. I'm talking about.
No, there's something that you don't know about.
Oh, that's even that bad. I would tell you that I don't have those issues with the side of the women's side. I have issues with people that were involved in my life and my lifestyle.
And same thing. I use the women as a point just strictly because of my past, right?
right.
And the past that
still haunts you.
The reason why I'm tricky Dicky.
That's right. It still haunts you.
Yeah, the reason why I'm Tricky Dicky. So everybody knows me as Tricky Dicky. So okay, yes, Tricky Dicky. We know what he do. We know what he do. You know. So yeah.
By the
some of
way,
those things,
I gave him that name. Thank you.
and whatever. But at any rate, what I'm saying is that even beyond those things, I use that as an example because of Tricky Dicky, the moniker of Tricky Dicky. However, what I'm saying is there's other certain things that I could have not done, whether it be financially, whether it be emotionally, whether it be physically, so forth and so on.
Yeah, but what changes the mistakes that you make now?
Nothing changes.
It seems like a lot of the mistakes are repeated mistakes of what we're doing today.
No.
Because only a good lesson is only learned and taken.
No,
Correct?
That stopped almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That makes
Anyways,
sense.
I'm just telling you, a good lesson, don't you agree, is something that you actually learn.
You learn
and
from.
take.
Exactly. You learn your lesson and you don't repeat
But
those
you
same
sound
mistakes.
like you haven't learned anything.
No, obviously I have.
When I'm talking, I've learned my lesson.
No, you can't really say no, but yes and no, because you're still talking about, okay, if I had to do it all over again, I'd be a drug dealer. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, okay, I'm in this life right here. I'm gonna take it even deeper and go even deeper into the abyss of.
Well, what I meant by that was the money that was made when it's just like the 90s internet boom or whatever the next boom is. I'm saying from a street level.
Oh, because I was say I would have invested in Amazon a long time ago.
So that's what I meant by that. Now, the consequences is not something that we're indulging in, right? Consequences are consequences because you lose money, you lose life, you lose whatever that is. What I'm telling you is I should have changed my ways when I was younger, and I should have done that. But I didn't look at that as something that I was trying to achieve.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Okay, so years back in like probably 02, 03, maybe 04, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I just moved to Houston and shit. And I went back to Alec, back home to kick it with the family and so forth and so on. Well, before I left, I called my homeboy, said, hey, what's up, DC? Man, I'm coming back to the crib, let's hook up, whoa, whoa, whoa. So get back to the crib and everything else, and he's like, yeah, we doing this, man, I said, okay, but listen, man, I'm going down to the New Iberia, and then when I'm coming back tonight, and when I come back tonight, we gonna kick it. Cool. Somewhere in my decision making, I got down to New Iberia, kicking it with the relatives, kicking it with the family and everything else, I decided not to come back. He called me, boom, I missed, and this cell phone is still new and shit, fairly new. He called me, I missed the phone call. I don't catch it until the next morning. I was like, damn, I'm supposed to hook up with DC, man, god dang. We kick it down for the weekend. I come back, wake up early Sunday morning, we come back to Alec, boom, drop off my parents, and I head back to Houston, right? So I get back to Houston that Monday, actually that Sunday, was it Sunday? I can't remember if it was Sunday night or that Monday morning. My pop calls me. Hey, what's up, Pops? I say, hey, man, DC.
Tell the story, fool. You take
Can
a
I
long
finish?
time. Yeah,
Shut the
I'm
fuck
just
up.
saying it's.
How about shut the fuck up and I'll finish the
It's a
story?
long ass story, but.
Hey, just want to let you know, man, DC got murdered. What the fuck? What you mean he got murdered? Yeah, DC, they said Saturday night, he went out and such, and They found him. He was shot in the head, and then they burned him and the dude that was in the car in a ditch. They burned the whole fucking car and his body, everything else. Bro, if the decision I made was not to kick it with the family, I'd have been with DC. And I was an innocent bystander. I mean, I ain't had nothing to do with DC. I've been gone for 3-4 years at that time. 5 years at that time. If it was 03, 04, I'd already been gone. But I would have been kicking with him. I would have been in the ditch, burned up, dead too. You know what I'm saying? So there's some decisions that are made, you don't know why you make them, but you make the decisions. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it with the family, even though I wanna, chase the hoes, do whatever with DC, boom, boom, boom. Somebody had a hit on him or whatever, he ran into the wrong niggas or whatever, boom. Cat's murdered and burned. Still to this day haven't found the murderers.
Yeah.
It happens. So, no, I don't regret any decisions that I made, good or bad. They're part of life. Would I change them? Not necessarily.
Well, that's a different too. In the beginning.
Not necessarily. No, what did I say? I said I wouldn't change them.
Did you say?
I said I wouldn't change them. Every decision I made is on I stand on it.
But?
No. Hindsight, would you change it? But no, I wouldn't change them. Because everything has made me who I am. That's what I said in the beginning. I wouldn't change them. Yes, I wouldn't change them because everything that I did made me who I am. God rest his soul, DC.
Boom. I agree with that. I'm just saying that, the way I look at people, I guess that I have a certain amount of trust. I feel like you're going to have bad people that not necessarily want to do bad to you, but they were cornered into a situation where they have to make a decision, which is understandable, right? Because a lot of dudes like, oh man, this whole snitching, oh man, I ain't gonna snitch. I said, dude, you ain't never been in jail and they gave you 25 and 30 years, you got a kid at home, what you gonna do? You gonna look good? No, you gonna snitch.
You're probably gonna snitch.
You're gonna sing.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's the reality of life. But when I talk to people that don't live that lifestyle or think that they live that lifestyle, they're like, oh man, that dude's a snitch. That dude's this. I'm like, you ain't never been caught up in that. But how do you know?
But that's why I'm saying, knowing what I know now, applying it to what I did back then, I would mitigate risk.
Yeah.
In other words, the cat that I recognize that just got to have a newborn, he got his wife, he got 1-2 kids. They basic 1, 2, 3, 4 years old in the early stages of their life. Maybe I shouldn't take him. Maybe I shouldn't roll with him on this particular thing. That way I don't have to worry about him knowing or not knowing what the fuck I do or did. That's what I'm saying. If taking it back to the original question,
if they want to go, they want to go.
Taking it back to the original question, if I knew then what I know now, I would mitigate that risk. That's what I'm saying.
If they want to go, they want to go.
They want to go, but it may not be healthy. It may not be beneficial to my health.
Well, you got to look at it if what benefits your health.
May not be beneficial to my health.
Is it not a selfish decision to say, hey, you know what? I know you got kids, but you the best at this, and you volunteered. I'm gonna take your ass.
Hey, bro, you can't.
But that's on you.
You can't go. You got too much to risk.
And what if you say that and they still go?
Then okay.
How are you responsible? Because you're talking like you're gonna be. You have to.
But
be
if it's the same cat that ended up rolling on me behind some shit, then I'm completely responsible. No, we're
saying the best thing, the best crew to go on the job.
We're not talking about the best crew to go on a certain job or whatever the case may be. What we're talking about is if I knew then what I know now.
What if you don't know? What if it's just then?
I hope.
What if it's just then?
I hope I've learned from the mistakes that I made and the decisions that I've made in life.
What if it's just then?
What do you mean? What is just
20 years
ago, I made the decisions that I made.
20-year Mike Dixon.
No, that's a moot point. It's a moot point because the beginning of the discussion is if I knew then what I know now. So you can't say, okay, forget about what you know now and just make the decisions that I made back then are the decisions that I made. But the discussion is If I knew then what I know now, I would make different decisions. Do I necessarily regret the decisions that I made? No, because it has made me the person that I am. And I am who I am, and thank God I am where I am. But on the same token, if I knew then what I know now, I would have made different decisions, would have still led me to the path that I'm on, and I may have been even further than what I am. That's what I'm saying. Because like I said, going back, the original question, if I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
If I knew then what I know now,
We
my
all be
decisions
millionaires.
I would have invested in Amazon and everything else at that time, Google and shit, and I wouldn't be worried about going to work every fucking day. I'd have been saying, "The hell with you, boy, I'm a boss. Boy, I ain't never had no boss. I wouldn't have had a boss for the last 20 years. Shit.
If you knew then what you
If
knew
I
now.
knew then what I know now, I would not have a boss.
True.
I would not be employed. I would be self-employed. I would be in Bali or somewhere else right now, still on the computer. Let's invest in this. Boom. It's the fact. If I knew then what I know now. And that's the whole argument that we were talking about.
I guess I'm
not saying go back to then and make different decisions. The decisions that we made are the decisions that we made.
Yeah, but the whole thing is you're still making the same mistakes in general.
How you say?
Because we know
Don't get personal.
Okay.
Shut up.
We're still making the same mistakes in our age now that we could have made the same mistakes. And we say, because everything sounds better today than it did yesterday, than the day before. All I'm telling you is that when you take it to the back, to the past, and I'm like, I don't have a lot of regrets in my life. I still make those decisions. Yeah. I still hold, when I'm looking at the decision, like I do the decision today, as I did the decision then, I would basically still make the same decision based on what I know at that moment. That's all I'm saying. In those moments in time with the people that were going to roll with me or not roll with me.
But you're okay. So what I'm saying is that your argument,
because there's no argument, because if you learned shit 10 years ago or 20 years ago, would you not learn it today? But why would you make the same mistakes?
Okay, so getting back to the original point, if you knew then what you know now, would you make the same mistakes?
But what I'm telling you is you still make the same fucking mistakes.
No, you don't.
Really?
No.
Okay. The mistakes are still basically the same.
No.
Because those lessons are not valued.
I beg to differ.
True lessons are valued.
I beg to
Because if they're valued, you're not repeating them.
I beg to differ.
Boys and girls, that's the lesson for today. If you make a mistake and you feel like that's a true mistake, you value that mistake and you move on, you never make it again.
Based on that right there, we out.